This low mileage E92 325i has been abandoned for 3 years, so I bought off the owner thinking I was getting a good deal, only to find out after that the engine may have been on fire and covered up by the dodgy guy. Other than that, I knew the engine was super rough, misfiring, knocking and other weird noises and just turning off randomly. I went to view and buy the car at midnight and it was raining super heavy that night, and I really couldn't be bothered to check over anything properly, and I wasn't able to take off the engine cover at that time, which would have stopped me from buying the car in the first place. And I should have trusted my guts not to go along with it, but you live and you learn through some stupid mistakes, and I definitely learned my lesson this time. With all that's going on with the engine, you'd think the exterior of the car would have been in some kind of decent shape. Well, I wish that was the case, but it's far from it. I mean, other than the bad outweighing the good by 1,000,000 to 1, at least the interior is in good condition, surprisingly. The trims aren't faded, leather seats were good. Only downside is one working cup holder and a few missing trims, but those are things you can live without. And my favourite thing about it is the seatbelt extender. At first I was convinced it was either rod knock or spun bearing. The first thing I wanted to do was drain the oil to see if there's any metal shards, but it was raining non-stop, forming a 12-foot deep swimming pool underneath the car, so I went to check the oil filter instead, and it was already missing the O-ring, and the filter looks like it hasn't been changed in 5 years, which I'm not surprised about. As to do with the knocking noise, I think it's something to do with the clutch. It only starts knocking loud when my foot is off the clutch, but when I put it in, it's a lot quieter. So let me give it a little test run right now. Foot's out of the clutch. Sounds like it's coming from somewhere around here underneath it. Foot in the clutch. Knocking stops. To take out the spark plugs, the normal socket wouldn't work because it has a slight bend in the tube hole, so I ordered this thin flexible one from Amazon. That is bad. I thought that was bad. Wait till you see the rest. It's really gonna make you think the first one was good. When I pulled out that second coil pack, it looked decent, but don't be fooled, it sent me to the shops. When I pulled out the spark plugs, it was drenched in oil. That literally smells of fuel. At this point, I was expecting it to get worse, and I was right. Look at how the coil is covered in oil, and whoever tightened the spark plug must have held down the trigger on the impact gun and not let go. I wasn't able to check the other 3 because it started pouring down, but look at how it's dripping in oil. That valve cover needs changing ASAP. As to do with the car's misfire and choking, it threw up this code. Injector circuit open. I just researched it, and apparently it's this faulty connector. It's because of this connectors are bent. I don't even think it's actually even touching the pins. This is definitely not a part of the original set. Look how it differs to the rest. So what I did to test if the wire was too far burnt, I disconnected the first injector wire and turned on the car, and the exact same fault code came up, but for cylinder 1 as well. But by the looks of it, we won't escape with just trying to replace this alone. I think it's safer to just replace the entire wiring loop for everything. I went on Facebook and looked for the closest E92 that's breaking for parts and made sure it had the exact same year and engine. I asked if he had the wires, he said he had it. I asked for a price, he said 70. I asked for 50, and I said I'll come today, and he was cool with it. Once I got back from North London with the wiring loom, I got straight to it. I disconnected the battery, which is a 10mm, and removed the cowl cover, which was missing all the bolts and screws. Then I unplugged all the coils, removed the 3 ground wires, which was held in by 8mm, and moved on to disconnecting the injector wires, making sure I didn't break any of the clips. I took off the 2 E10 screws holding the whole wiring loom in place, and removed 1 bolt from the strap base bra, and just loosened the other, which lets you pull it out. I disconnected the 2 sensors, and the third one I didn't show on screen was the sensor for the Vanna solenoids. This part was the most annoying because there was barely any space to remove the last few cables. Lastly was to disconnect it from the ECU or DME and just untangle and wiggle the cables out. Look how badly burnt the cables were, and he just covered everything up with electrical tape. And now I plugged everything back in together. Only issue is these 2 coil packs are different to the rest, and the sensors are not connecting in. Went along and just ordered 2 of the same that matches the rest. Luckily for me, it was delivered on the same day, but I had work, so I fitted on it a day after, which is why you probably see me struggling to find which wire connects to where, but I managed to figure it out in the end. My brain's not working today. I completely forgot to tuck the cables underneath the bar. So I really can't be asked disconnecting everything again. What I'm gonna do, take off the bar, then just put it on top. When I leave something for a day or 2, then come back to finishing it, it's like my brain forgets everything, and it's like I'm doing everything for the first time again, which is why you see me battling the cover, because it kept bouncing out, and that is it. Alright, moment of truth.